The Purple Line is a community podcast bringing you in-depth conversations with diverse leaders in the public and private sectors. Whether you're a student looking to gather advice or a professional tuning in for valuable resources, our dynamic programming provides tips for all ages and backgrounds. I'm your host, Keith Fernandez, and this is The Purple Line. Cesar Prieto is Chief of Staff for Congressman Tony Gonzales of Texas. He is a graduate of the CHLI Global Leader Internship Program in 2019. Prieto holds a bachelor's in Government and Business Administration from the University of Texas at Austin. He's also studying for a master's degree in public policy at Georgetown University. Cesar Prieto, thank you for joining us on the Purple Line, one of Chile's many success stories, but one of Chile's quickest, which is incredible. Going from being a Chile intern to Chief of Staff in basically record time. You are probably the youngest Chief of Staff in the House, or at least the youngest looking, which is great. And, you know, I think one of the biggest questions that folks would have, especially aspiring Chile interns, is like, what was your secret to success in going from, you know, you obviously didn't go straight from intern to Chief of Staff. You had positions of varying responsibility, and, you know, you're respected by your peers, your colleagues, you know, your fellow chief, and obviously your member. But how did you approach growing so quickly, so strategically, and so effectively?
Well, I mean, that's a way to put it, and yeah. I appreciate you introducing me with such a resume and a record. First of all, thanks for having me, and Chile has been really the transformative catalyst in my career and in my personal development too. So to be here, you know, 4 years after having been an intern is incredible, and I owe it to mentors like you and many others in the familia, like Marianne and several others that were part of the lobbying group as well. I think there's a different combination for everybody as far as the secret sauce for success. For me, the most important thing that I think me and many other Hispanics share is that our makeup is different from many other demographics, in the sense that we grow up with this sense of initiative and this sense of self-sufficiency to want to get ahead and not take any excuses for failure. And part of my roots, I grew up along the border in El Paso, Texas, right next to Ciudad Juarez, and so I went back and forth a lot and really was exposed to different cultures, different languages, different ways of thinking that expressed to me from a very young age how important diversity is and how important it is to represent different points of view. And so policymaking was a natural fit, I think, to how I viewed the world growing up and how I wanted to influence how people viewed the Hispanic culture. And I thought the best way to give our culture that platform would be through public policy, making sure that Hispanics had a level playing field. And so from an early age, I thought government, poli-sci was the way to go. So fast track to college, I went to UT Austin, and you know, it's Texas's capital, so a lot of government opportunities, a lot of internships. And frankly, I didn't really know what I was doing in college, like many of us. It was very much like undeclared major, just kind of take the classes, check the boxes. And halfway through my college career, I had a spark of interest in community development and really interacting with everyday people and seeing what makes them tick. I've always been sort of a people person in the sense that I'm interested in what makes people different and what motivates them. And so I was working with the city of Austin, doing some neighborhood revitalization projects. And, you know, it was a lot of, I guess I kind of tested myself in dealing with people and finding ways to translate their interests into actual policies. And that just kind of changed the whole playing field for me. I realized that I needed to go to DC, be involved in that kind of fish tank of ideas, of different opportunities, and Chile was that platform for me. I applied to the internship, the Global Leaders Fellowship, and you know, were it not for that sponsorship, I wouldn't be here today. So that's kind of the fast track of how I got here. Once I was an intern, landed a job on the Hill, and you know, 4 years of working hard, and now I'm Chief of Staff, which is an experience in itself.
It's amazing. We're incredibly proud of you. I mean, Chili as a whole, I personally, like, it is just incredible. I can't think of anyone better for the job, by the way.
Thank you.
And I think the question a lot of folks have is, like, if you are 17, 18, 19, even in your early 20s, thinking of applying to Chili and thinking of a career path, what was it? What was the spark that made you go, oh, this thing in DC, this Chili thing, like, this is for me? What was the spark that made you think this was the next step in your career? Was there any hesitation moving so far away from, home
100%.
and, like, doing something totally different?
100%. So I graduated in Austin, went back to El Paso for about a year.
Yeah.
Be back with family, just kind of get back to my roots.
Yeah.
And honestly, I got comfortable. I was comfortable. I was working with the city of El Paso, doing some bureaucratic things. And I kind of fast forwarded my life, and I realized that if I didn't get out of my comfort zone, I would stagnate and be there for the rest of my life. And so there was this kind of friction where I was like, all my friends, they did finance in school, they did, business, or making six-figure salaries, and here I am, doing an internship with the city of El Paso. I've got to change it up a little bit. So a funny story, I actually saw the Chili application a day before the deadline. And I think it's very common for all the Chili interns to apply late, which is not something I recommend. But I managed to get the application in on time, and I made it through the whole process. When I was accepted, I had a reckoning with my parents, and I basically told them, this is going to be a life-changing experience. I have a good feeling that if I go to DC and I do this, I'm just I might not come back, right? Yeah. It's a new chapter in my life. And my parents told me, you have to do it. You have to take a risk. If you don't do it now, you never will in the future. And the most important thing you can do is have faith in your abilities, and you're going to be punching above your weight, but that's the best situation to be in. So with a lot of support from my parents, from my family, friends in general, I had that support system to get me through being in DC, through the tough winters, through, just the intensity of the environment.
And that gets to a question of, like, I think sometimes we're, like, just socialized to not take risks because we're afraid of failure. Yep. And, like, how has risk taking actually benefited your decision making and, like, your career over time, and just, like, being willing to roll the dice? Obviously an informed decision, but sometimes you have to go, I got to trust my gut and I got to trust what I know. Like, how has that informed your success, personally, professionally? Like, how has risk been good for you?
I think so many of us are afraid to fail, and that same fear leads to paralysis, and that paralysis doesn't let you perform. Yeah. And so the best thing you can do is expose yourself to difficult situations and honestly fail. Yeah. Fail time and time again until you kind of shed that fear. You've been there, you've felt what it's like to have not prepared as much, and you kind of learn how to tweak things, and you build your confidence to a point where you realize that you can take on bigger things. Yeah. And I think, especially being on the Hill, you do a lot of that. It's very much like projects that are above your experience and that are very much like day of news. So you have to evolve quickly. And you do that repeatedly, and you kind of start taking on this new skill, which is assimilating information quickly, thinking on your feet, and pressure makes diamonds. Yeah, right? I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. And it's sort of funny, too, because I think you're contextualizing risk in a way that I've heard it before, which is like, I didn't fail 99 times. I just figured out 99 ways not to
Exactly.
do the thing, and then I found the one way to do the thing. I think one of the things that when taking on responsibility, being a chief of staff and being a leader of any organization, how do you find a way to motivate folks who are working, for you or working in service of the member, in a way that encourages innovation, encourages risk, without, again, being, unduly problematic, let's say.
That's a great question. Yeah. That has been the single most important question that I've asked myself as a manager. Yeah. As chief of staff, the most important thing you can do is be chief of culture, right? Yeah. Because you're setting the pace for why people want to work in your office, why they want to take risk, why they want to be engaged. And the best way that I've managed to kind of motivate my staff is to be friendly and just communicate that they're part of the family. Because if they feel like they're in a trusting environment where they can screw up, and you know what? We'll get through it. We'll find a way to dissect what went wrong, but together we'll find a better way forward.
Yeah.
Then they'll be willing to take the risks and perform higher and take on more responsibilities. And it's worked like a charm. You know, I've got a great team of people that are incredibly intelligent and capable, but that also have that backing from leadership that they can go out there and, you know, we're going to delegate and trust whatever their work is. So
that's amazing. And speaking of trust, we'll be right back in 5 minutes. The Purple Line after this short message.
Hello, this is Marianne Gomez-Horta, CHLI President and CEO. You are listening to the Purple Line podcast. We would like to thank the sponsors of our internship and fellowship programs: the Coca-Cola Foundation, Comcast, Altria Client Services, Ford Motor Company, the Home Depot, Walmart, UPS Foundation, Televisa Univision, McDonald's Corporation, and Corteva AgriScience. Thank you.
And we're back with Cesar Prieto, Chief of Staff for Congressman Tony Gonzales, former CHLI intern. And so you're going to be, or actually, let me do this again because will be after you get the award.
Yeah.
We're back with Cesar Prieto, Chief of Staff to Tony Gonzales. Oh my God, how did I fuck that up?
Cesar Gonzales, MDB.
Oh
It's
my
not the
God,
first time. You're crossing wires.
Oh my God. Well, no, and it's, I know, and it's Prieto, Gonzales, like you know.
Yeah,
guys, like,
yeah.
come
Too
on.
many names.
No, I know, but I love it. We're back with Cesar Prieto, Chief of Staff to Representative Tony Gonzales, and the CHLI Ambassador Award winner this year from this year's CHLI Gala. You know, I think one of the things that CHLI has tried to do is create a culture of excellence amongst, you know, its alumni. You obviously served on the alumni board, and, you know, how does it feel to be recognized by CHLI, and how does that motivate you to give back to CHLI alumni, whether it's through having interns in your office, supporting CHLI generally, or even something else?
Yeah. I mean, it's an incredible honor
Yeah.
to be named the CHLI Ambassador. It sounds very fancy and official, but what I understand is that the award recognizes people that give back to the organization by, you know, sharing time, grabbing coffees with people, mentoring folks when you can, and just representing the value of CHLI as an organization, which is diversity of thought, excellence in leadership, and being engaged in public service. And those are things that are personal values that resonate with me. You know, even when I'm not in the office, I'm volunteering, or, you know, after hours, I'm trying to help a friend out for a campaign that they're leading. So being in CHLI exposed me to very like-minded people that have that same drive to give back to society, and where not everything is necessarily a bottom line thing. It's not about profit. It's about improving not only the Hispanic culture, but our society as a whole. And so, you know, being involved in the board, for instance, was an awesome opportunity to have a family of people that are very, you know, very talented, but that have those same objectives to just improve where we come from, our roots, right? You know, you're Cuban American, I'm Mexican American. There's some folks that are from Puerto Rico on the board, and so we all have these like different stories and roots, but that kind of hodgepodge makes it the full representation of what the Hispanic culture is, right? So, you know, it's just been exposure to a lot of really cool people, and that's the best way to put it.
It's amazing. And I think that, you know, when people talk about concepts like a life of service and a life of, it's really tough to break it down into its component parts, because it's always presented as like this big thing you've got to aspire to, and then it really is what you're talking about, you know, grabbing coffees, you know, talking to folks. And one of the things I think, you know, folks are curious about is like, how do you start? Like, how do you start living that sort of a life, you know, whether it's giving back to the Hispanic community, whether it's giving back to people in your profession, or whether it's even giving back at your school. Is it volunteering with the local nonprofit? Is it, you know, doing it just at your office? Like, what is it as expansive as it sounds? Like, literally an act of service is an act of service is an act of service.
Yeah. I don't think it can ever be forced. I think everyone has their pet projects that they love and that they identify with. You know, for me personally, something that resonates with who I am as a person is the importance of binational exchanges, binational open-mindedness, just because I grew up on the border, right? So every time that there's like a Mexican embassy event here in DC, or even people from El Paso that are visiting, I always try to give them the whole like Capitol Hill tour, National Mall tour, because I want people to be exposed to how cool it is to be in the Capitol and everything that our government has to offer. And, you know, I mentioned the Capitol Hill tour. That kind of feeds into this because when you show up to work every day and you see that beautiful white building and, you know, you realize that for hundreds of years, very intelligent and just unique people have showed up to work at that same spot, it motivates you to have more than just a job, right? So I think public policy, this whole sphere that we work in, it's all interlinked with that kind of historic symbolism. And if you motivate yourself with that, I mean, there's no better way to stay engaged.
Yeah, absolutely. And final question, serious question is, in your 4 years in DC and ongoing, what are you proudest of that you've done? Whether it's coming to DC, whether it's something that you've done at work, or is it something else?
Man, that's a good question. What am I proudest of? I think high level, just sticking with it. Yeah. And this is the message that I want to deliver to anyone who's listening. You're going to fall on your face many times throughout your career and life, you know, with relationships, etc. The determining factor for where you are is how many times you can get back up again. And I think all the incredible people, you know, Steve Jobs of the world, etc., will tell you that time and again. Failure is just part of the game, and resilience is really what separates the wheat from the chaff. So, being here as an intern, it's kind of like trial by fire, where you're surrounded by really, you know, just the best of the best, and you're comparing yourself every day, and you get imposter syndrome. Everyone's gone through that, and just kind of going through that and telling yourself every day that it's worth it. Eventually, you'll start believing it, and eventually, you'll be that person that you always thought you could be. And so, I would just say, never count yourself out, and you should be proud just to have that philosophy. So
yeah, amazing, great advice. And here's some questions. Now we're gonna learn about you. So hopefully you don't have to be so resilient for these. But
bring it on.
No. Like, what's your favorite TV show? What's your favorite movie? Or what are you watching now?
Yeah. I wish I could give you something like bubbly and like outside of public policy,
do it.
I love The West Wing actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like, the way I put it, it's like an optimistic House of Cards. Yeah. I could never get into House of Cards because, you know, politics is cynical enough as it is, and that just puts like steroids on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say steroids on the record.
Yeah, you can. It's
fine. West Wing is very much more like, you know, people just solving problems, and it's a feel-good story. Really incredible situations that aren't actually going to happen, but just fun to watch overall.
Amazing. Who would you be? Who's your character?
I have an answer for you. I thought about this before.
Everybody does.
I personally resonate with Josh Lyman.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
But I don't know if that's what I give off. Josh Lyman is very much like the strategist, the behind-the-scenes guy that he's just kind of like herding cats and always thinking of a problem, how to solve it.
Yes. I can actually, you do give Josh vibes. So.
I hope it's not because I'm balding.
No. That's not it at all.
Yeah.
What's your go-to guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. Here in DC, I love doing bike rides. I love doing bike rides.
That is not a guilty pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah,
it's just a pleasure.
Yeah. That is not a guilty pleasure. That's I'm shadow exercising pleasure.
Let me give you a guilty pleasure. I like stuffing my face at Kilwins, the ice cream shop in Navy Yard. Every day when it's been a tough week, actually on a Friday, you'll see me there with a double ice cream scoop and some marshmallows.
Oh, amazing. Ice cream fixes everything.
It does.
Yeah,
it really
does. That's it. Nuclear bomb ice cream. It's
for
fine.
everything.
It's fine.
Yep.
And then more seriously, like, you are a driven guy. You've achieved a lot. What is your morning routine?
Yeah. I love that you asked that, because I've heard from, I don't know if you know who Tim Ferriss is. He's like a podcast guy. Yeah. If you win the morning, you win the day, right? Yeah. And a lot of productivity, I think, happens between 5:30 and 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Where you're preparing yourself for the day, right? You're setting yourself up for success. You're setting the pace for what you're going to accomplish. But I think even more importantly in the morning is the night before.
Yeah.
Having like an outline of, the 5 most important things that you want to accomplish is super important, because then you can pace yourself throughout the day, get back on schedule if you have to. Because if you don't, like, you'll realize things come, and you're just having to improvise. So another thing that I've learned is that you're not going to get everything done.
Yeah.
You have to pick, you have to prioritize, you have to pick the things that you can check off the list and go to sleep at ease with. And my magic number is 5. If you can do 5 good things in a day, you can call it a day.
I think that's amazing. Yeah, if you don't control your schedule, it controls you.
Yeah.
Like, just like things happen, and you've got to be able to do it.
Totally. Yep. Yeah. As you know.
Oh my gosh. And then last one, not serious. What is your favorite place to go on vacation? Or if you haven't been there, where do you want to go?
I'll give you 2 answers. My dream destination is the Camino de Santiago in Spain.
That's great, yeah.
It's, for those of you that don't know, it's like this. Usually it's about a month to do the whole thing, but you walk across Spain, and it's this old pilgrimage route that dates back, I don't know, like hundreds of years. And basically it's like a way to test yourself and your endurance, but you also meet a lot of people along the way that have really interesting life stories. And sometimes you walk together, and you just form these life bonds with someone overnight. And so I've always wanted to expose myself to that. Just trying to set a month aside to finally do it.
Definitely.
And then where I have been that I love is also in Spain, Andalusia, the south of Spain. Yeah. There's this thing called the route of the white towns, los pueblos blancos, and it's like these copy and paste like towns where all the houses are white, and there's like 500 people there, but they're always like drinking sangria at 3 p.m. It's just very much small town, like enjoying life kind of vibes. So highly recommend.
Amazing. That's something I got to add to my list.
I want to ask you the same question. Because you're Mr. Travel. You're Mr. Worldwide.
Oh my gosh. I love Madrid.
Okay.
I love Madrid, so I love Spain. And then I think that's the biggest, that's where I go back and I'm like, okay, I've got the restaurants I like, I've got the places I like.
You know the language, you don't have to awkwardly do Google Translate.
I know. It's very familiar.
Yeah.
I think the older I'm getting, the more I'm like, I like seeing new things, but I like being in familiar places.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Just I don't need to go see the tourist spot. Parque Retiro, Cine, I'm good. I love it,
because you've seen them all.
Yeah, well,
mix it up.
I know. It is what it is. Well, I can always say the Maldives and then, sound like the points guy.
Right. You don't want to be that guy.
No, at all. Cesar Prieto, thank you for walking along the purple line with us. So great to see you always. You're a leader. You've inspired so many Chile interns. You inspire me every day by your achievement, the excellence of which you bring to your job, bring to your life. We'll be walking with you metaphorically, hopefully in Spain one day. And we look forward to seeing the ways in which you're going to continue to improve Capitol Hill, DC, and really the entire world, because this is just the beginning.
Keith, I learned from the best. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks for listening to The Purple Line. You can follow me at _Keith Fernandez on Twitter, and make sure to follow Chili across all social media platforms at The Chili for the latest updates.